What's going on, everyone? This is Kunal. In this video, we're going to discuss the long-term staying power and viability of centralized cryptocurrency exchanges. So first, let's get a definition of what they are. So Investopedia defines centralized cryptocurrency exchanges as one of the most important vehicles for transacting. Centralized cryptocurrency exchanges are online platforms used to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. They are the most common means that investors use to buy and sell cryptocurrency holdings. Some investors may find the concept of a centralized exchange to be somewhat misleading, as digital currencies themselves are often billed as decentralized. What does it mean for an exchange of this type to be centralized, and why are these exchanges so crucial for the success of the cryptocurrency industry as a whole? So before we get into this, we can just answer these questions really quickly for you guys. So while the coins themselves, like Bitcoin, its network is decentralized, it's traded on centralized exchanges, meaning third parties, the use of third parties is used as a custody of your funds. And then what does it mean for an exchange? Well, why are these exchanges so crucial for the success of the cryptocurrency industry as a whole? And the answer for that one is liquidity. And we're going to get into that in a second when we discuss the pros and cons of centralized exchanges. And because once we discuss the pros and cons, it'll help us realize the long-term staying power and viability of decentralized exchanges. But Investopedia continues on. In the term, the idea of centralization refers to the use of a middleman or a third party to help conduct transactions. Buyers and sellers alike trust this middleman to handle their assets. This is common in a bank setup, where a customer trusts the bank to hold his or her own money. The reason for this setup is that banks offer security and monitoring that an individual cannot accomplish on his or her own. In the case of a centralized cryptocurrency exchange, the same principle applies. Transactors trust not only that the exchange will safely complete their transactions for them, but that they also make use of the network of users in exchange in order to find trading partners. And they go on to explain that, and then they explain difference between centralized and decentralized exchanges, and then they go on from there. I'll link this article if you guys want to read the whole thing on your own, but for the purposes of defining centralized cryptocurrency exchanges, we've done that. So now we're going to discuss the pros and cons of centralized exchanges. So the first pro for cryptocurrency exchanges is faster processing with a trading engine. So if you compare it to decentralized exchanges, you'll note that when you start trades and the amount of people that can make a trade simultaneously and the amount of transactions or trades per second is much higher on a centralized exchange than it is on a decentralized exchange. And the answer to that question is a centralized exchange can have dedicated servers running to just process those transactions and those trades, versus a decentralized exchange which is running on a cryptocurrency network or some other network which would require a lot of processing power, and the amount of bandwidth just isn't there dedicated to running the decentralized exchange itself. So the first pro is faster processing with trading engine. The second pro is easier to use interface. And then it ties into the number 3, which is more prevalent, developer team. And the reason for this is because if you have a dedicated developer team and you're a centralized exchange, you're running a business, right? So you can afford to hire a bunch of developers to keep upgrading your interface. So you can see some of the top centralized exchanges like Binance and Kucoin and Huobi, they have pretty good interfaces, versus if you look at something like Waves or IDEX or Ether Delta, please don't, you might see something not as good or not as easy to use interface. And that's important for cryptocurrency adoption too. The easier to use it is, the more people are going to keep using it. That's why Coinbase has the most liquidity, because they're getting the most average Joes to invest in cryptocurrency than other exchanges would. So the next reason is more liquidity. This is a very important one. Centralized exchanges, because of their easy to use and because they're more mainstream, they get more liquidity and they get more people buying and selling on. Meaning that there's more volume on these exchanges. There's a higher amount of people buying and selling at a higher frequency, and then there's more market makers in the centralized exchanges as well. Meaning what you're gonna find is it's gonna be very hard for somebody to come in and tank the entire market all the way down from a certain price. There will be some level of stability, and that same thing going up. Versus if you go on a decentralized exchange, you might find, let's say for example, one order for Ethereum at $250, one order of Ethereum at $225, and it'll be that scarce. There'll be that big of a difference between each order that has been placed. So that's the liquidity issue, and that's a big plus for centralized exchanges. The other thing is more features like margin trading and stop loss functions. So that's number 6. So margin trading and stop loss functions are really important, tools to use as you're a trader and as you're placing an order. Margin trade. Let's talk about stop loss as an example, right? The idea is to say, okay, once the cryptocurrency that I'm putting an order in for, or the cryptocurrency that I hold loses 10% of its value, immediately sell it. Versus, so it's that kind of an idea. You put a certain point in, and you won't lose. You will sell the cryptocurrency past that point. Number 7, direct fiat to cryptocurrency trading. So this is a key important one. That's why something like Coinbase is much ahead, and things like Bittrex are also trying to move ahead as well, with the idea of, okay, you're going to directly be able to take money from your bank or credit card. Well, they've stopped a lot of credit card stuff, but let's say your bank, and directly buy cryptocurrency like a Bitcoin directly from your funds, from your US dollar funds or whichever fiat currency you use. Compare this to a decentralized exchange where you would need a cryptocurrency reserve currency like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum, or the native token on that decentralized exchange in order for you to trade with other crypto assets on that exchange. You won't be able to use direct USD. So that's another pro. Another pro is insurance of user accounts and funds. So Coinbase is really good at this, where they say, hey, if something happens to your funds, they are insured. They keep a very minimal amount on the hot wallet, and the cold wallet is insured. So by doing that, as a user, you can feel safe that, hey, if something happens, if the funds are hacked, they're insured. And that's not true with decentralized exchanges at this time. And the last thing is additional financial services like banking and credit cards. So centralized exchanges, many of them are releasing, they're releasing bank, level, tools, right? Say, hey, we can become stores. There's Coinbase Custody as an example, where they're not just being an exchange, they're also being a bank and more. So those are big pros for cryptocurrency centralized exchanges. Now let's talk about some of the cons. The first con is that the exchange controls the private keys and funds. Funds are seifu. So you look at something like Binance, you trust the Binance system, the people who run Binance. You trust CZ to be able to say, okay, if my funds are safe, they really are safe, and so on. So you have a lot of trust in that third party to hold your funds, since you don't own your funds and you don't own your private key. The second thing is KYC verification limits user anonymity for premium features. So let's say you go to an exchange, you'll notice they say, hey, for a free use, or for a user that's not KYC verified, you can only deposit and withdraw up to 2 Bitcoin per day. So if you want to, become a whale or even a small whale, you would have to verify yourself and limit your anonymity by providing information about yourself in order to get verified and in order to trade higher amounts in the same day and withdraw more funds and things of that nature. So that's one drawback. Another drawback is that centralized servers can be hacked or face downtime. So anything that's centralized, there are there are less and less points of failure, or it's closer and closer to being single point of failure. So with something like that, you look at Binance, even Binance, which is one of the industry leaders, it faces trouble all the time with getting hacked or uncertainty. At least there's uncertainty, right? So this creates a level of uncertainty for cryptocurrency investors, where do I trust these exchanges to hold my funds, because it could be hacked at any time, or it could face downtime at any time, so I can miss out on a coin at a certain price, or as soon as it hits the market, because the exchange was down for me at that time. That's another downside. So number 4, they control the trading fee percentages. Versus decentralized exchanges, they use the network to set trading fees like ETH gas. So what does that mean? That means that Binance can decide at a whim, okay, the trading fee is going to be 1%, or it's going to be 0.5%, or hey, if you hold our Binance token, it might be even less. So they create this incentive. You may say that's not a problem, but at least that they are the ones. It's a centralized process to controlling the trading fee percentages. Versus decentralized exchanges, where you look at something like EtherDelta or IDEX, their trading fees are based on the gas on the Ethereum network, right? So the more if the Ethereum network is really clogged up at that time, and there's a less free bandwidth available, the gas prices are going to be higher, and so your trading fees are going to be higher. So you at least there's kind of a little bit of an organic way that the trading fees are determined on decentralized exchanges. So that's another downside. And the last downside is listing fees to major cryptocurrency exchanges create a plutocracy of crypto projects. So this is an important point. What this means is, let's say for example, you take something, any coin. Let's take VeChain, for example. Let's say VeChain was the group that founded VeChain, they were very, already well versed, right? They were already, well funded. When they created the token, yes, it's a decentralized network for VeChain built on the Ethereum blockchain, but they were able to pay Binance or something to list their coin. Now, VeChain is becoming very successful partially because of that, but at the same time, it creates a situation where it is a plutocracy, where in order to appear on the exchanges with the biggest liquidity, you have to pay them upfront a lot of money, and that limits and hinders maybe smaller competitors from being able to reach there. So those are the cons of centralized cryptocurrency exchanges. And now I'll leave it up to you guys and questions for you. Do you guys agree with what I said? Please leave comments in the section below, and let us know if you would agree with these concepts, and if you would put it this way about centralized exchanges. And in the meantime, please do go on our website where we have our latest news. We always put out the latest news wanting to go. You can see, for example, U.S. Congressman wants to make life easier for the cryptocurrency community. That's always very important when you have the government getting involved. And if they get involved for the better and they support cryptocurrency, obviously without making it a plutocracy, then we support that. And the other stuff we want to do is, here's our Twitter page where you can follow us, where we have almost 80,000 followers now at altcoinbuzz.io. You have the Altcoin Buzz Ladies channel at abuzz_ladies, where they put out updates for their videos, for their YouTube channel. And last but not least, please do like this video, and also subscribe to our channel where we have about 212,000 followers. So thank you very much, guys, and have a great day.